This video tutorial offers an introduction to primary and secondary sources. At the end of the tutorial, there will be a quiz to help you review what you have learned. The Library of Congress defines primary sources as the raw materials of history, original documents and objects which were created at the time under study. They differ from secondary sources, which are accounts or interpretations of events created by someone without first-hand experience. Some primary sources for World War I might include a letter written by a soldier, a poster promoting war bonds, a photograph of a military ship taken during World War I, a University of Kansas Jayhawker yearbook from during the war, a diary of a medical officer, or a collection of war correspondence. Some examples of secondary sources for World War I could include scholarly books describing and analyzing different aspects of World War I, a peer-reviewed article, or popular historical treatment. Unfortunately, there is no single hard and fast rule for distinguishing between primary and secondary sources. The definitions may vary slightly depending on your discipline, the topic you were writing about, and the guidelines for a particular assignment. Let's use some questions to test your knowledge. Question 1. Is this book a primary or secondary source? Devlin Patrick, Too Proud to Fight. Woodrow Wilson's Neutrality. New York, Oxford University Press, 1974. The answer is secondary. Why? As the title indicates, this book is an analysis of Wilson's efforts to keep the United States out of World War I. Question 2. The publication date on the printed volumes of the papers of Woodrow Wilson is 1966. Are these a primary or secondary source? The answer: primary. Even though Wilson's papers are published long after World War I and Wilson's death in 1924, this 69-volume set would be considered primary sources. They were simply published far after he authored these documents. Question 3. If you are studying World War I, is a military leave permit from 1918 a primary or secondary source? The answer: primary. It is a document created at the time of the event being studied and is related to that event. Primary sources can be government documents and organization records in addition to writings created by individuals. Bonus question. On November 11, 1941, Franklin Delano Roosevelt gave an address about World War I on Armistice Day at Arlington National Cemetery. Digitized images of this address with Roosevelt's handwritten corrections are available on the FDR Library website. Is this a primary source for a research paper examining American politicians during World War I? The answer: no. This is not a primary source for a paper examining American politicians during World War I because this speech is commenting on World War I from a much later date. However, if your paper were instead on Franklin Delano Roosevelt, then this would be considered a primary source. In this case, it is subject you are studying that determines whether or not the item in question would be considered a primary source. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions about primary or secondary resources, please contact us at lib.ku.edu/askalibrarian.